Hi there, my name is Catherine Fulken, and in case you don't know, I'm the founder and CEO of Femtech Insider, and I'm excited to be here again today with yet another episode of our new Femtech TV series. And today I'm incredibly excited to be joined by Kiran Roest, the co-founder and COO of PocDoc. Kiran, thank you so much for being here today. It's great to have you.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So Kiran, maybe to get started, could I ask you to maybe talk a little bit about yourself and also your work at PocDoc and sort of what you're trying to solve for in the space of health and digital health?
Sure. So my name's Kiran. Hello, everyone. I am the COO of a company called Vital Science Solutions, and we're building a platform called PocDoc. And maybe I'll start at the beginning. This all stemmed from an idea I had when I was chatting to my father about 5 years ago now, and he was explaining to me that he was really worried because he'd had a high cholesterol test and he'd been doing some good lifestyle changes and wanted to get it retested, but his GP wouldn't test him again because you get once in a 5-year check and that's it. And I thought, hang on a minute, I'm pretty sure there should be a way where everyone can test themselves for these simple blood tests from the comfort of their home and get the results right there and then. So I went off on my maternity leave with my first child, did some research, found a technical partner, and we slowly built up the concept of PocDoc, and we've been working on it ever since. So PocDoc is the platform whereby we bring in blood tests. So the lipids one is the first one that we're working in, and combine it with a proprietary software algorithm where we read the results of those blood tests using your smartphone. So it's cheap to do, easy to do, anyone can do it in the comfort of their own home. And the vision for us kind of further down the line is that we would integrate those results of your blood tests, whether that's lipids and glycolated hemoglobin for diabetes, all different wellness factors, and help people make positive healthcare and lifestyle changes to get the population healthier and to prevent diabetes and cardiovascular health diseases.
So who are the users of your platform at the moment? Are you live already, or sort of where are you at?
Yes, and so this is where it gets interesting, because that was kind of our core area, but quite early on in the pandemic, we realized that our software would be really valuable for reading the rapid tests that are around, so whether that's kind of the rapid antibody tests or the rapid antigen tests, and we could apply our software to any standalone analog piece of tech. So we've now tweaked our software so that it can read these tests, and we're working with a variety of different people who want to screen their kind of their populations, their employees, or the pantomime, lots of different people we work with who want to know kind of what the antibody levels are in their people. So yes, we are live in that aspect is live, and we're working with a number of different customers, which is really exciting. But still in the background, we're developing our core tech and the hardware that we would integrate or are going to integrate into the PocDoc platform.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And Femtech Insider, we're obviously always interested in the women's health aspects. So I'm wondering, a platform like yours, where do you see this fit in the context of women's health?
Yes. So some of our different avenues that we're thinking of is, as obviously it's mentioned, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, interested in kind of women's wellness where it comes to vitamin levels, vitamin D, B, folic acid, things like that. And then also it's a large area in fertility. Women spend most of their lives trying not to get pregnant, and then a small proportion of their lives trying to get pregnant, and both of them come with challenges. And actually, historically, women don't really know much about their bodies and their cycles and what their hormone levels are at different times. And we should be able to get that data pretty easily, and it really would inform all of us to help different sets of women. So kind of one of our ideas is that we could build in kind of pre-pregnancy ways to understand your cycles, understand where you are in the month, understand where you ovulate, and then when you can either prevention or when you do want to become pregnant, it'd be helpful in understanding when the right time to try is in the month.
So you are based in the UK with Vital Science Solutions and
yes.
with PocDoc. what's your thoughts sort of on the digital health ecosystem overall in the UK, and also, kind of going direct to consumer versus also working with the NHS, and sort of how does digital health fit into the local sort of health ecosystem?
Yeah, so I come from a background where it's where I worked for a pharmaceutical company for many years. So it's so exciting to be in an area where there is this innovation and kind of atmosphere of everybody working together to get devices to the market so much quicker than getting a drug to the market. It's like it's a really kind of sexy area, and it's great to be a part of. And there's lots of initiatives, both on the kind of the female focused front and also on the kind of just med tech or health tech or digital tech front generally. And they're all quite short timelines. So you can have an accelerator program that's really fast, or a way of female fundraising that kind of you pitch and get the money in within a year, well, 6 months to a year, which is just so much faster than the other timelines that I've been exposed to. So it's really exciting. And the networking opportunities are great if you know how to tap into them.
Yeah. Sort of going back to that, all your experience in the pharmaceutical field and now sort of in the health space, what do you think can the two sides learn from each other? Like, what is some of the experience that you're sort of bringing now into the work in the digital space from your sort of past life? And what do you think? I would have loved to know this when I was still at the pharmaceutical company, in terms of the strategies that maybe some digital health companies apply.
Yeah. So I think it's been really valuable to have my mindset, particularly in like the regulatory front. So when you're developing a drug, it's so important to get it right, to put the right studies in place, and to make sure everything's vigilant, and you get right endorsement by the right authorities. And I think that's a valuable asset to have in digital health tech, because so often some of the digital tech people you see have come from a very different background. So they've come from kind of, I don't know, fintech or consumer tech or something like that, and they don't understand how difficult it is to make something that abides by all the regulations. So very early on, I probably upset a lot of our company by being like, look, these are the regulatory hurdles that we need to overcome. This is what we need to do by then. And actually the whole process is probably going to take a year longer than you think it is going to. And it is painful. So, the IVDD is painful enough. The IVDR, let alone when Brexit comes in, it is difficult to navigate. But at least with my pharmaceutical background, I know the right people to talk to and the right avenues to pursue for that.
Yeah, and I can only echo what you just said in terms of having a lot to learn if you're coming from a sort of non-traditional, non-healthcare, or kind of medical background. Sort of my background is in software as a services and fintech, and I had a lot to learn in terms of what that means. I mean, my co-founder at Pearl Health actually sort of, her background is in pharmaceutical science as well. But sort of for me, this is a completely different ballgame, and I absolutely agree with you that you just really you really only start to understand the complexity of the whole thing. So
and it's so interesting, right, when you bring software into it. So our solution has a hardware component, which are the individual blood tests that we're developing ourselves, and the software component, and the two together are a medical device, but the software in its own right is a medical device as well. And I hadn't had a whole lot of experience with that software side of it, but luckily my co-founder comes from an experience where he's kind of built a platform essentially. So between the two of us, we're very aware of all the regulations we need to be met.
Yeah, no, totally. And sort of all these mantras that you kind of hear from other tech companies, move fast and break things, and it's just like it's not something that you should be aiming for in digital health. Like we're really kind of talking about
I think starting a company in any industry is hard enough, but starting a company in the digital health space, particularly where you've got a technology component, like a hardware technology component, that's really setting the bar even higher.
Totally. Well, kudos to you for going down that sort of definitely challenging path.
Kudos to my network for teaching me everything they know.
So maybe taking a little bit of another note, you are part of the Healthcare Business Women's Association and have been for quite a while. And so, we also often speak about kind of and still see this, even, well, maybe not so much in women's health, but overall in digital health, quite a bit of lack of sort of women in this space, and specifically in leadership positions, which is kind of a little bit, almost strange considering how many women there are in healthcare overall. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, sort of what can be done, what needs to be done, how can we make a difference? What are some things that need to change in order to get a more diversity on decision maker level?
Yeah, and it's so hard, right? Because I think there's no simple solution. I think society's mentality and thinking towards women needs to change so that we get more girls into STEM subjects at school, which translates into more women at university, translates into more women in grad schemes and internships to really expose them to the types of roles they can have. And then in the kind of entrepreneurial space or startup space, I see so much that women just sort of downplay their strengths. I think a lot of women don't believe that they can do it. Where we need to change that. We need to give women, we need to empower them to be ambitious and confident and to believe that they can see out ultimately what dream they have. And they need to be supported along that route, right? So I've got 3 really young children, and it's really hard to balance a startup with 3 kids. So as a society, we need to make that easier. We need to have better childcare plans in place. We need to make sure that society accepts that men can stay home with the children if it's the woman that wants to start the business. And that needs to be normalized. And I still think we've got a long way to go with that aspect.
No, totally. And I couldn't agree more. And, especially I think also in the startup world, we often sort of glamorize the hustle culture and, the long hours and, things like that. And, in the end, I've experienced that myself. You just get really and it is, I think, especially when you're starting something, you underestimate, it's a marathon and it's not a sprint. And there's a certain time that you can actually push through and sort of, put that energy in of like crazy hours. But it's just really not sustainable, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's particularly in a time like now when we don't have family support or other things to tap into. It's all about kind of working as a team with my husband and my kind of nurseries, schools, and just making sure that I've got the time really to dedicate myself to the business.
Yeah. So maybe on a last note, what's next for sort of PocDoc? What are kind of your plans for this upcoming year?
Yeah, so we are continuing to kind of gain market traction and customers in the COVID space, and that's really exciting, making sure that people have the technology they need. I would like to think within the next year that part of the business will die away slowly as we get out of the pandemic, and then again we'll be 100% focused on our portfolio of products, which near term are kind of cardiovascular health, and then diabetes and women's health will come in. But really just get the name PocDoc out there and to make people start to think about how blood tests don't have to just be done at your doctor's surgery. They don't have to be a venous blood draw. They don't have to be anything too complicated. We want people to be able to know their lipid levels in the same way they know their weight or their BMI or maybe their waist circumference. It should just be another metric that you've got in your biological ecosystem. So that's what we kind of want to do, shift people's perceptions a little bit around the blood tests they do.
Got it. Awesome. Well, Kiran, thank you so much for joining me today. I learned a lot, so I hope a lot of other people watching this did too. And all the best for PocDoc, and I hope we catch up very soon once the COVID demand has worn off and you're on to other things.
Yes, nice to speak to you.
Thank you.